Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I'm the only one that's not completely following this, and I'm new to all this, but how exactly were patients assessed prior to this tool? How have we been doing it prior to this new universal tool and a plan of care developed? And who authorizes to change that procedure and the $16 million that we seem to have in the budget to spend on this new tool? That's what I don't understand. And if we could hold the acronyms, because I don't understand any of them, I would appreciate that too. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try to break it down. There are, as you're well aware, there are 4 particular divisions that were part of the universal assessment testing process. Also long-term care, which is part of the Division of Medical Services, Division of Aging and Adult Services, which provides services in the home and community-based arena for the elder's choice and the physically disabled population, which is adults with physical disabilities, and our elderly and home community-based services over the age of 65, and then our Division of Behavioral Health Services, and then the Division of Developmental Disability Services. And primarily when you look at those populations, the reimbursements and the funding for those populations, the level of conducting the assessments for each of those populations, developing the plans of care, were not consistent. And in a manner to create an efficient system and ensure people receive services based on needs, the decision was made to develop and administer a universal assessment whereby we could universally assess all of our individuals based on their needs and then develop and reimburse services based on those needs in a consistent, balanced method.
Okay, that still didn't answer the question. You're saying that prior to this tool they were not being assessed equally or consistently. How were they being assessed? I mean, prior to this, individual doctors or?
Well, in the Aging and Adult Services Division, which is my division, we have nurses that are housed, and at that time they were conducting a MDS, material data set assessment that was being utilized. And then behavioral health, I'd have to request some of my colleagues, but there were assessments that were being conducted with the input of providers, not for sure the type of assessment. And then in the nursing home arena, use of material data set assessment. And then in the developmental disability arena, you had a service specialist in conjunction with the provider that would develop a plan of care or a budget for that person without any real benchmark or assessment.
So these were medical professionals, though, that were administering these assessments and making these determinations?
Qualified professionals that were qualified to administer testing to the populations that they were charged with serving and assessing. Yes,
and who will be administering the new system?
Under the new system, the assessment process is in place right now, which is in place for Division of Aging and Adult Services. We have nurses within our division that will administer the assessments to the population. Then in Developmental Disability Services, there is a contract with Pine Bluff Psychological, whereas they use qualified QDDPs, qualified developmental disability professionals, that administer the assessments to the intellectually and developmentally disabled population.
So are the same people that were administering it before the same people that would be administering this new system after, or are we changing up who's going to be doing the administering?
Under DDS, the plan of care was actually developed with the input of the provider and the DDS service specialist. New is the independent assessment, whereas Pine Bluff Psychological Associates administers the assessment for the DD population. And DAAS, the nurses which previously administered the MDS assessment, are the ones that are administering the inter-RAI assessment for the populations that we serve within our division.
Okay, and if I could finish the original question, which was who authorized this change and the money involved in it? Because we keep saying a determination was made that we needed to make this change, but nowhere have we actually labeled who made that decision and who allocated the money for it.
Early in 2013, and I'd have to go back and gather some more information, but early in 2013, the inter-RAI assessment was selected, and by the Department of Human Services, in collaboration with specific stakeholders. There was a review of assessments. The inter-REI assessment was chosen. And then very soon thereafter, in the middle part of the year, the assessment began in 2013 using the inter-REI specifically for the DD population and the aging population, and then to develop a phased-in approach for the mental health, behavioral health population, and the long-term care population. Right now, the only two populations that are being administered the inter-REI are the developmental disability, which is under Division of Developmental Disability Services, and the Division of Aging Populations. I know it's quite a bit of information, but I'd be glad to provide more detailed information later after the meeting if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Doing a little bit of an audible, the co-chairs come up with a few questions. So I want to recognize Senator Clark, then we're going to Tucker, Representative Neal, then we're going to non-members, Representative Bell and Flowers. And do we have any empty chairs at the end of the... Okay. We might get staff to roll up an extra chair at the end, because in just a few minutes, probably when we get to the end of the members, Ken and Pam get